Welcome everybody, welcome to another video. I'm Lindsay, this is my site, I call it Flat Earth Philosophy. Everything's about flat earth and how and why it works, how it's all been hidden from the public. Proved it many times, you know, that it is flat. You can't debunk what I say and what I show. Anybody can check on a couple of things. But anyway, today's video is about phi, the Greek phi, P-H-I, what exactly it is. No one's ever explained it. This is basically a world first, and it's quite amazing, quite revealing too. So understanding phi and what is it, how it's connected to pi, the circle, because it all starts with a circle. Is a circle, as in a cycle, a circle. Earth is flat and round, isn't it? But then pi, you go like this. There's pi. Pi equals 5. It's the ratio. 2 parts, 3 parts. Phi is a divine number, or a divine symbol, because it represents a full magnetic cycle. No one's ever told you that, except in one of my videos maybe. You want to check that video out. The field of a bar magnet matches the sun's analemma. You get all these scientists scoffing. They've got no idea. They're ignorant. This is phi. One full cycle, a magnetic field cycle. All the way around a ring magnet is like this. But it doesn't flow because there's no electrical system, there's no colloidal field on a magnet, is there? Earth has a sun. So the sun is the conductor, so once the sun is created, it conducts the magnetic field. The magnetic fields race to where the sun is. In a way, the sun sits on the horizon of the black hole, and there's always the action around the black hole horizon, because that's what's created the sun. The field is forever flowing in from out of around the tropics, flows back into the centre Arctic, because that's where the actual sun is, in the black hole of creation. What we do not see is from the physical world. We just get a representation, a second state, that's not true, explained in Plato's dialogue. We live in this imitation. And our imitation, our projected image of the creation vortex is the tropical street. So the tropical was known as the street. Tropical zone all the way around the flat earth was known as the street. That circle represents the circle around the black hole of creation. And the magnetic fields from the north and the south come into it. They come to their respective tropical zone, Capricorn and Cancer, shoot down, divert, and come back up at opposite ends. And it creates a cycle like this. Because we have a positive field going over, then it goes down into the Earth negative, then comes up at the Arctic centre, comes over positive, goes down negative, positive, negative, positive, a changing magnetic field, which creates the electrical system in the tropics, and the electrical system keeps the changing magnetic field, doesn't it? We all know that in science. So there you have it. Phi is one full magnetic cycle. It's classed as an infinity symbol, or golden ratio. It starts with that 3 to 2, 2 parts, 3 parts to 2. Then you can break it all down or expand on that, just like a magnet. You can add more magnets to it. It still has that ratio, doesn't it? Well, you break the magnet down, you still have the same ratio. You still have this size magnetic field. Science has never explained this. They don't understand it, for a starter. I think there's only me and that guy Nehan, what's his name? Nigel Cheese. But some of you might have watched the Ken Wheeler video where he's described something, that the geometry being a wire twisted like this, but he doesn't explain the phi, the 2:3 ratio. That's what it is. Ken Wheeler explains a lot of the stuff, and you know, he can't give you the full picture because all that stuff he talks about, you can't put it to the spinning ball. Nothing works with the spinning ball. For starters, the spinning ball's a geometrical circle, although they like to say it's a pear shape over here, but they'll always give you a marble. Well, that will have to be two halves. They're both equal halves. They just tell you the magnetic field is equal. In potential it is, overall, but they're not equal in their geometry. It's 3 to 5. 3 to 2, sorry. One cycle equals 5. Phi. So, then we go to Plato's, let's forget what they call it, the analogy of the divided line. There it is. Plato describes it all in the Republic, 509 to 509a to 511. It's dividing the line unevenly, and then it takes these two portions and divides them unevenly again. So you get the unseen, the metaphysical that covers the entire Earth, because that's what the magnetic field is doing, covers the entire Earth. The field comes all the way from the south, right up here. It goes down through the Earth at the Capricorn tropic there. Goes through the Earth, then comes back up and around the Arctic. Back up and over and down again. It comes down at the Tropic of Cancer. There's the avoidance zone in here. So this is the entire Earth model. We do not see as man. We see the other image in here, which is the smaller image seen in the tropical gap. And that's our sun's analemma. Plato describes how there's the two versions, the metaphysical, the actual, and only the seen, the perceived by man. So understanding the avoidance zone, because creation's back here in the centre Arctic, the vortex, it's then transferred out to here into our realm. The tropical gap is the dielectric plate, the avoidance zone. So the magnetic fields are coming in, but they're avoiding that zone when they shoot down through the Earth and come up again. This is why we get this cycle. Magnetic fields don't cross, they don't touch, they avoid each other at this point here, the avoidance zone. And it's interesting that you know, the pi, the number 1.618 times 5 comes up with a number 8.09. I mean, there's divinity there. They're telling you it's the magnetic field, the full cycle. The circle represents pi, maybe, the full circle. And then we have 9. 9 is the divine number. It's divinity there. It all represents the center of creation. This central point in here. You have to understand convergence, the magnetic field convergence, being conducted by the sun, so it's all converging towards the sun, the poloidal, and then there's divergence. So it doesn't, there's non-point, well, what do we call this? Non-point incommensurability. No point, there's no central point, because there's the avoidance zone. Everything's avoiding the whole, the center, the place of rest. So the field swings around it. So back in creation, you just have the black hole vortex spinning around like this with the sun on its horizon. But in our system, we get this shape going on. It's opposite to creation. Spiraling up from the Arctic and spiraling down, and then we get it out this way. Just like we get the perpendicular electric field to the magnetic field. So it's all here, guys. Changing magnetic field due to the electrical colloidal field. And the electrical colloidal field, the avoidance zone, it's the friction on each side in the tropics. It's static electricity, isn't it? Because there's friction involved. There's the friction of the up and down around this gap. So in the black hole, you got the friction comes together to create the black hole horizon, which creates the sun. But in our realm, it's this up and down counter forces in the tropical zone, either side of the tropical zone. So there you have phi, everybody. It's one cycle, one magnetic field cycle. In a magnet, it's basically stationary till the sun is created. Perfect resonant frequency created the sun, which then sets this in motion, flowing. The sun becomes the conductor. So what have we got here? Incommensurability cannot be measured, they say. No celestial bodies can be measured, only observed, because they're holographic images to us. As you get closer, they move ahead. So when you see these videos on YouTube, science, physics and that, and they start showing you space and you're flying through and all the stars are going like this, that's 100% bullshit, okay? They do not fly past you like that. You cannot fly through space. You move this way, they move with you. That's how these holograms work. Understanding that the donut of Earth, the curved southern field, but you take the center donut out and just create a vortex that creates the flat, or a better analogy is a round balloon. You push down on it from the top, you create a flat surface. That's the northern horizon, the northern hemisphere sky horizon. It's flat. And because you've got the rounded sides of the balloon, they act as concave mirrors. So this image gets reflected onto the concave mirror, and the concave mirror projects the image out to a central focal point. And that central focal point is Polaris, because this image is the same image out here, except it's different because it's wider, because the donut goes around, or the balloon goes around this way. Well, let's go back a bit. You've got the concave, so you've got a reflected image back at here, so you've got a rotation. This rotation is causing this rotation here. It's not 10,000 miles away, it's within your arc of horizon. It's reflected back at you. It's holographic projection. But due to the fact that the balloon's round, and it's all concave all the way around, everything's more widely dispersed, and every man on Earth, let's say he's in the southern hemisphere, looking south, will get his direct meridian image of that reflection. He will always have a projected southern picture brought out to his horizon, no matter where he is on this outer perimeter. It's all reflected from the center. One rotation, northern hemisphere, straight out to a concave field, projects the image back in, circular, centered on Sigma Octantis, which is Polaris. It's understanding that. Now, analogy of the divided line, we've gone through that. So I'll read some stuff on my phone, screenshots. What is phi? Phi is an irrational mathematical number, because it's basically incommensurability, isn't it? It cannot be measured. That's why it's irrationally just a divided line. And it's often denoted by Greek letter, which goes like this around and straight down. Well, basically this is what it's doing. You've got a circle, then you go around and bring it straight back down. If you think about it. Other commonly Other commonly used names for phi are golden mean, it's golden mean, extreme and mean ratio. Divine proportion, it's a divine proportion, alright, a golden ratio, because it is a divine symbol. Ratio, phi is a naturally occurring ratio which exhibits aesthetically pleasing proportions. In traditional Greek numerals, phi has a value of 500 or 500,000. Where does that come from? I do not know. I tried to look into it. I didn't find anything. The Cyrillic letter EF descends from 5. So, I don't know where the 500 and 500,000 come from, but it represents 5, 3 to 2. In ordinary Greek text, the character U plus O3 blah 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 is used exclusively. Although this character has considerable glyphic variation, sometimes represented with a glyph, more like the representative glyph shown for, it's just giving you that shape, and then in brackets, loopy or open form, and less open with a glyph, more like the representative with the stroke. Yeah. So you can imagine a circle with the stroke down the guts of it, really. Yeah, there's one, then there's the other one. Because it's a returning field, you see. Returning field. This is what the southern hemisphere, there's only one central northern pole. All the souths are returning fields. There's south everywhere. Because it spins out around south and back in again. Anywhere around the flat earth, because of this curved, it's not a dome, it's not solid, it's a firmament. It's based on pressure, gas, there's layers. And the field returns around. So, centre of that, imagine that's the black hole centre. That's why it's returning back around. So the centre is dead south. This is why you see on some of these videos where all Captain Bird saying there's land beyond the pole, which is correct, because the pole is back in the centre. You can still get around it and get further out. You go so far, but you can't continue. You'll all die due to the pressure, and that, on the human body and anything. Nothing will get you that far. But realise, you've got the centre core, north. We can't actually get right in there either. It's called the place of inaccessibility. And then you've got the other core at the other end, always opposite, anywhere around the flat plane, there's another one. And you can go around the South Pole, but you can't just keep going south. For a start, you don't know where south is because the compass starts going haywire because you're back here at the central point. It's south. So you have to come back further in north and have a gyro set for dead south. And then follow it, and you keep going, and you'll just eventually die because you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to come out the other side, that's for sure. The number phi, often known as the golden ratio, is a mathematical concept that people have known about since the time of the ancient Greeks. Ancient Greeks is representing the divine people that knew. It is an irrational number like pi, and E means that its terms go on forever after the decimal point without repeating. And that the symbol does go on forever. It's infinity. That's the infinity symbol, doesn't it? Definition of phi. Phi can be defined by taking and breaking it into two portions. If the ratio between the two portions is the same, the ratio between the overall and the large segment proportion are said to be in golden ratio. Well, I can't read exactly, there's a flipping volume sign in the picture here. This was first described by the Greeks mathematician Euclid, though he called it the division in extreme and mean ratio, according to the mathematician. And it's related to the triangle, the pentagram, And, you know, deep in philosophy and religion, you find the triangle is the ultimate symbol. It all goes back to that. The most irrational, I've got all sorts of stuff here. Golden ratio, also known as the golden section, golden mean, or divine proportion. But look into it. It's all there, folks. I've got some stuff on email here. I might be able to read. Analogy of the divided line. The analogy of the divided line, they said, don't even know, just listen to what they've got here on Wikipedia. Presented by the Greek philosopher Plato in the Republic, 509 to 511, it is written as a dialogue between Glaucon and Socrates, in which the latter further elaborates upon the immediately preceding analogy of the sun. And the former's request, Socrates asked Glaucon to not only envision this unequally bisected line, but to imagine further bisecting each of the two segments. Socrates explains that the four resulting segments represents four separate affections of the psyche. The lower two sections are said to represent the visible, while the higher two are said to represent the intelligible. These affections are described in succession as corresponding to increasing levels of reality and truth, from conjecture to belief to thought and finally to understanding. Furthermore, this analogy not only elaborates the theory of the psyche, but also represents metaphysical and epistemological views. So they don't have a clue. They're connecting these two together. Nothing to do with it. It's the overall. The two is the bigger version, the bigger picture and the smaller picture. The bigger picture, the unobserved, the metaphysical, the reality of the system, and the observed, the little sun's analemma we see inside the ecliptic plane, the tropical zone. What is that supposed to mean? Because that's where we see the sun. We just think the sun's sitting in there. No, because the actual sun's sitting right back in the core of creation, that tight magnetic field back in here. And as it turns, it sends the image around the flat earth. It follows this magnetic field. So the sun will be here, at the same time it'll be here, 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 here and here. But depending on the ecliptic plane, the tilt of the ecliptic plane, as to how far the sun will go south or north. If the ecliptic plane is down and out, the sun's seen out here 24 hours a day in Antarctica. If the ecliptic planes come back up and in, it's seen 24 hours in the Arctic. Okay? Go to another untold story. What's this? Umar Gaddafi. You want to check that one out. Find that video, the untold story about Umar Gaddafi and what he did. All this fresh water was all under the desert, and he pumped it all up and he was going to feed all of Africa. Well, he had actually. It took 40 years to build the pipeline. Find out why the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the West murdered him. The actual truth. What have I got here? Euclidean geometry. What did the ratio of two magnitudes mean to ancient Greeks, mathematicians, history of science and mathematics? So that's really interesting, that one. Is that the one? No, there's another one. No, it's gone. But anyway, the video is probably going to run out soon. But I was just trying to tie in incommensurability with infinity and all that, not knowing it had already been done. I go deep into some ancient Euclidean geometry, whatever that dude is, what's his name? It's written there. It's something in the division, and then mentions the word incommensurability. I mean, we've all heard Ken Wheeler talking about this, but 0 point, non-0 point incommensurability, because there's no 0 point, you can't get to that dead centre. That's why we can't get to the dead centre of the Arctic.